How's it going?
Great. How are you?
I'm
How
good.
are
I'm
you
good.
doing?
I'm good. Thank you.
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah,
How can I
yeah,
help you today, Justin?
yes. So, just for context, my parents are Romanian, so they came here in Canada. I am now. They came in like the 90s, so I was raised Orthodox Christian.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, I've been like I have a lot of Arab friends, and I took upon myself to learn or to start studying Arabic throughout my life, just because I enjoyed the language and like the culture and the music and whatnot. So like I speak a little bit of it, and I enjoy studying it and whatnot. And of course, that kind of in my Arabic classes in university and whatever, the Quran came up obviously within study. And then
Mm-hmm.
recently, I've just been studying Islam even more and whatnot. And obviously, it's kind of hard for me to abandon my entire like faith and identity and whatever was ingrained in me since I was a kid. But I'm open to doing research and whatever. But the main qualm that I have, so to speak, is not with the Quran, because honestly, I would become a Muslim if I only like had to believe in the Quran. But my problem is that of all the hadiths that I see that have a lot of like questionable things in them that kind of make my belief waver, so to speak. And like I of course like I don't just read them out of context like by themselves and say, well, it says this, so that's what it says. Like I try to look online for like a scholarly understanding and exegesis of what they're saying in the context of it. But sometimes I feel like they're just doing like mental gymnastics to accept the fact that, well, if Muhammad said it, then he said it, then inshallah then it's true. But I don't know, for me, like some things just don't make sense, and this is kind of the barrier that's stopping me from advancing any further,
Hmm.
if you know what I mean. And
Okay.
I
So,
guess,
so
yeah, no,
sure,
yeah,
sure.
cool.
Yeah, you want to say something else? No, you can
No,
finish what you're saying. Yeah.
I guess I was saying if you needed like certain examples of certain hadiths or whatever, then I could give. But please continue of whatever you were gonna
Yeah,
say.
yeah. No, no, no. Of course, you can bring examples of what you have issues with. But before doing that, I just wanted to ask a question. So I understand you said if it was only the Quran, you'd be a Muslim,
Yeah,
which is a very strong claim to make. But then you said something, right? You said you have issues with the hadith, and then you said you grew up Orthodox, correct? But
correct.
you're not telling me right now what are you. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Are you
I,
a researching? Are you consider yourself a specific thing? What are you?
well, I would still consider myself Orthodox. Like I still
Christian?
go to
Okay,
church every weekend and whatnot, and still
sure.
pray that way. Yeah,
Okay, sure, sure. So now I'm going to ask you a question. Now it's just to highlight inconsistency. The issues that you find in hadith.
yeah.
Do you believe these issues are not present in Christianity, if not worse?
Well, certain issues I would say they're present a lot in the Old Testament for sure. Um, some of them I wouldn't say are as prevalent in the Bible, or they would need their context to be explained as well.
Sure. So, are you the type of Christian who's going to tell us that I don't care about the Old Testament, or do you
No,
understand and realize? Oh yeah, okay. So you understand and realize. Many Christians don't. Sadly, they just want to put it under the bus. They're like, oh, well, that was the old covenant. No,
right.
in reality, is the same God. Like, if
Yes.
you believe Jesus is a Trinity or whatever, then He commanded this. Like, you cannot tell me morality was okay this time, but it's not okay that time. Like, you
I know.
cannot play this game, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So if this is the case, then if they are present, now you're telling me some of them are not present, and then we can investigate the ones that are not present. But if they are present, then I would say it makes no sense to say that I'm going to remain as a Christian, but I'm not going to be a Muslim, even though the same issues are there. If you get what I'm trying to say, because
Yeah.
where is the consistency there? If the Quran makes sense to me, then the prophethood of Prophet Muhammad makes sense to me. Then I should accept him, even if I see these things which I would call issues, because I already accept something else with the same issues. So let's first investigate these issues and see what kind of issues they are. You can ask, and I really hope they're not the very common ones that we always like just
No,
to give.
well,
But
I tried not
I'm not
to
sure what you do.
stick to
Yes,
the
yes.
typical like points of
Script.
that. Yeah,
Yes,
exactly. Yeah, I tried like
yes.
one that I've been like seeing recently. Like one that I saw was in Sahih Muslim. I think it was 1403. It says that. Now, again, I read the scholarly interpretation of this, so I understand probably what you're going to try and say as well. But like it says that when a man like, or sorry, he saw a woman, and then he says that
Who saw a woman?
I believe it was Allah's messenger, so Muhammad. He saw a woman, and this was reported by Jabir. He said that he saw a woman.
Can you send me in the private chat the narration? Just copy paste it in the private chat or whatever.
Yeah.
I'll just have a look at it, and then you can continue saying it. Go ahead.
Sure.
Yes.
I pasted it there if you can see that.
Yeah, sure. I saw it. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So it says that the woman advances and then retires in the shape of a devil. So when one of you sees a woman, he should go to his wife, for he will repel what he feels in his heart. And obviously, what the scholarly interpretation is that, you know, he's telling you that, you know, when you're tempted by a woman, like, don't, you know, fall into temptation. Instead, like, take out your temptation in a way that's permissible by God. But what my problem is that it's basically saying that the woman is being framed as quote unquote the devil, like shaitan, and it's saying that as soon as you feel aroused in such a way, like, instantly go to your wife and, you know, let it out in such a manner. When my belief, at least in Christianity, is that, like, even when you experience lust or experience these temptations, that it's your internal temptation and you should still resist it, you know, because sure, men feel lustful and we get that, but I don't think that one should just instantly cave to his lust, and even if it's in a permissible manner by, like, you know, within the covenant of marriage, I don't think that, I don't know, I just don't think that makes sense to me, at least, like, portraying women in such a way that A, they're the devil, and then B, as soon as you feel this lust, then instantly go and let it out, in my opinion.
Sure.
If you understand what I said.
Yeah. But I don't think you're presenting the hadith in the right way. Okay. Now, first, doesn't shape. I don't agree with this translation. So surah, not shakl. These are two different words.
Like, so like picture or image.
Image, yeah, like an image of, yes. So it says you saw the Arabic is there. تقبل في صورة الشيطان وتدبر في صورة الشيطان. فإذا أبصر أحدكم امرأة فليأتي أهله فإن ذلك يرد ما في نفسه. This is what the narration is saying. Okay.
Right.
So when it says in an image of Satan, now there is two ways to understand this. There is a way that when people are walking by and you look at a woman, they see the devil with two horns, or like, obviously two horns is just a Hollywood characterization. Right. Or that this is metaphorical, referring to something else. Now, any reasonable person would obviously say that this is not saying that when you walk around and you see a woman in the street, that she looks like the image of the devil. Nobody's going to say that. No reasonable person is ever going to interpret the narration that way. So what does it mean then? The image there is referring to the lust, which is portrayed by Satan, that is trying to get you to do a lustful, impermissible act.
Right.
Whether it is adultery, whether it is fornication, or any types of these specific acts, or even just touching her, hugging her, whatever, or looking at her with lust. You know, as like the Bible says, looking at a woman with lust is adultery, etc. Yeah. So when it says the image there, means the image of what Satan wants you to focus on, to look at, to disobey God with, that lustful image that it's not permissible for you to look. Now, nobody else in Islamic history have interpreted that, therefore, this means that a woman is Satan when she's walking around. Okay?
Right.
So, obviously, that's not a fair interpretation, I would say, in any way, shape, or form. Like, if you really wants to be reasonable. Because, like I said, it's either, like, literally saying that, or it means something else, which every reasonable person is going to say. Now, when it says, come to your family, now, that doesn't mean you should cave to your lust. In fact, that means the opposite. This narration is referring to those who will find something. يَرُدُّ مَا فِي نَفْسِهِ. What does يَرُدُّ مَا فِي نَفْسِهِ mean? It repels that which will come in his mind.
Yeah.
So this narration is a cure for a specific type of individual that when he sees, not every single person is like that. Mm-hmm. For an individual that if he saw and then thought about something, that can happen to anyone. Right. It can happen to any human being, right? We're not saying this happens to people who are not righteous or whatever. No, this can happen to any human being. We're all men. And anybody who claims that doesn't happen to them is probably lying. So you can see anybody can look at a woman and get lustful. Like, this is like common sense.
Right.
So the Prophet in the narration, he had intercourse with his wife, and then he said this. So he's setting an example, obviously, to the people. That doesn't mean that the Prophet is looking at people lustfully, but he's setting an example for the people of what to do in case this situation arises or takes place. So any human being can look at a woman lustfully. Let's say whether he's married or not married, it can either lead him to fornication or adultery. In this case, adultery, because he's married, right? So this narration is specifically referring to someone who is married. So, okay, you're married. So if you get something in yourself, you start like feeling something lustful that could lead you into a wrong direction, then go and have intercourse with your wife. So this is a cure for a specific type of problem that can arise sometimes and cannot arise sometimes. Now, we cannot take a hadith that obviously is referring to a specific instance. Like I said, clearly metaphorical when it comes to the image part, and then apply it to every single case and scenario in every human being, and then derive from it that it means that every human being is lustful or whatever. No. Why? I'll give you a very simple answer from the Quran. The Quran itself teaches to lower our gaze. You probably know about that already.
Yeah.
قُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَغُضُّوا مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ, and say to the believing men to lower their gaze. وَيَحْفَظُوا فُرُوجَهُم, and to guard their private parts, meaning not to do fornication or whatever. So if the Quran tells you to lower your gaze, you're not going to need to look at a woman anyways in order for you to do this.
Right.
Okay. So, and the Prophet said, if you looked accidentally, then to look away. So the Prophet gives so many ways to like avoid this. But if someone were to look and then feel lustful, etc., and then he starts to feel something.
Yeah.
So the Prophet is referring to something now, repelling something that you will get, certain desire, a lustful desire that can lead you to do something incorrect.
Right.
Then do this because this is permissible for you. And that would repel your desire because you would know this as a man.
Yeah.
And men will know this.
Yeah.
That this desire can be very strong, but the minute the man does his need, it disappears. Like it's no longer. I don't need to obviously explain.
I get it.
Yeah. Everything completely is very easy. So I would say that is the most wise thing to say, actually. So this hadith is definitely given a cure to many people. That if some people were to apply, we'd have so many less cheating, scandalous relationships in the West, actually.
No, that makes sense. Okay, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I imagine that it wasn't the actual devil itself, but I guess just the wording kind of threw me off. But I mean, you put it in a good frame that it does make sense. And
I'll give you another example. Okay, let me add to that as well. So I'll show you that this has nothing to do with women because you mentioned women.
Sure.
Now, the Prophet told us that, for example, if someone passes in front of you while you're praying, then you're supposed to stop them. Yeah, you're supposed to repel them and stop them.
Right.
And then it said if they don't stop, then fight them to push them. Like فَلْيُقَاتِلْهُ, it says like fight them.
Right.
فَإِنَّهُ شَيْطَان, because he's shaitan. He's a shaitan. Now, nobody thinks now, it's the same idea. Do you get the point? When it's here, man or woman, whoever is passing in front of you, uses the same term, and it calls them a devil or Satan or whatever.
Right.
Now, nobody comes and says, now, this has nothing to do with men or women. It has something to do with this person now is making an act of disobedience. He's doing the work of Satan. Therefore, he's referred to as Satan in that context.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Makes sense. Yeah, I was gonna when you brought up that point with someone walking in front of you during prayer, because there was another hadith saying that like the things that which would annul a prayer would be like if a dog, a donkey, or a woman walk in front of you. And again, that was a bit weird to me because like likening a woman to a dog and a donkey in that context is like, I don't know, it's weird.
Okay, again, I'm sorry, I'm gonna say this, but this will be very, very like a problem in understanding if you think of it that way.
Okay, I mean,
like if you mention three things together, does that mean you're equating them with one another? I'll give you an example. I'll say the man eats food, the dog eats food, therefore the man equals dog. That's what you're saying.
I guess
because the hadith is essentially mentioning three things which do a specific thing. Cut the prayer. And I'm going to explain what cutting the prayer is. Because three separate entities do one thing. You said, therefore, it says all of them are equal. How's that logic?
Well, I wouldn't say all of them are equal in the sense of that,
but it says it equates them together. You said it equates them to each other. Where does it do
that?
Yeah,
I guess likens them. I guess likens them rather than equate.
Okay, where does it do that in the narration? This is the same. I'll give you an example. Okay, I'll repeat the same example. The man eats food. The dog eats food. The man is like a dog. Okay, so look, obviously men eat food and dogs eat food. Nobody's insulting there. Just because more than one thing does the same thing doesn't mean it's a dog. Now, let me explain the hadith. as many scholars have explained this hadith, Al-Qurtubi and others, many scholars have already explained this hadith. What does it mean to cut the prayer? It doesn't mean that it nullifies the prayer, as the scholars said. It means it decreases the reward of the prayer. Now, the answer, why does it mention dog, and why does it mention donkey, and why does it mention woman? Why does it mention these three specific things? For a simple reason. The donkey, when the donkey makes noises, it will distract you during your prayer if it walks in front of you. And that would cut your prayer, meaning decrease the reward, because you're going to be distracted. You're not going to focus on your prayer. Right. If it goes in front of you, you will get distracted because it makes noises, loud noises. When it comes to the dog, it will frighten you. Of course, like, I don't know, like just like random dog crossing in front of you while you're praying, you're going to get frightened. So that is going to distract you from your prayer and focus, and it will decrease your reward. If a woman crosses in front of you, can get you to have ideas, can get you to have lustful thoughts, etc. Can look at the wrong thing in the middle of your prayer. That can distract you. You can lose some of your rewards, and that would cut the prayer, meaning the focus that you have in your prayer. Right. That is why these three things are mentioned. But nobody is saying the three things are equated to one another. Most scholars in Islamic history have understood it in that way. And like I said to you, it's not even logic, because I could apply that statement to so many different things. Just because so many things do the same thing does not mean all of these things are equal. That's not logic.
Right. So then by logic, then would you be able to apply, like, if anything, I guess, like, if anything that's distracting or makes noise or whatever walks in front of you or is present during the prayer, then it would also cut it?
Yeah, if anything, yeah, there are things, but the Prophet mentions common things, especially at that time. Like,
I guess
people didn't pray. Right. Yeah, people didn't pray. Of course, he's mentioning this. People at that time, you understood, they didn't have like all of these buildings that we have and clean roads.
Right.
They would pray, and that's why there's narrations about, like, it was, I think, Abdullah ibn Abbas, and he was passing with his horse while the believers are praying in rows. He's going with his horse. Like the people at that time, they would pray in the desert. They would pray in anywhere they can. Anything can pass in front of you.
Right.
Any animal can pass in front of you. Any human being can cross in front of you. Anything can happen. So of course, these things needs to be contextualized. Now, before we go to something else, now I'm going to apply now the consistency kind of thing I asked you in the beginning. Sure. Now, if a person is a defender of women, how does the Bible describe women? Because you had an issue with things which are clearly metaphorical and not only applicable to women, but applicable to everyone. Now, specifically applicable to women will have things in the Bible. For instance, the Bible will say that the woman is the reason for the original sin. She is to blame. She is the fault, the whole fault. And the man comes first, and she should remain silent. She shouldn't teach. She shouldn't assume any authority over a man. She should remain quiet. Right. And she shouldn't teach. Now, Islam doesn't teach that. So Islam is very clear that the sin was both Adam and Eve. The blame was both Adam and Eve from God. Repentance was for both of them. And the pain in pregnancy is a punishment for women in Christianity because of the Eve.
Right.
In the same chapter. And in Islam, women can teach. And they have been teaching. And they have been doing even things like narrating, which is even higher level. So now, how are you okay with that in Christianity, but perhaps can have an issue, something that can be metaphorical like this in an Islam point of view, if you're supportive of women?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm engaging in some sort of hypocrisy in that sense, because if I look at everything like Christianity, like, I would instantly assume, metaphor and whatnot, but then I guess I look at it more, like, I scrutinize it more.
These are not metaphors, though.
That's true.
In the case I gave you, it's clearly a metaphor. Nobody can argue against that for sure.
Yeah.
But in the case that you presented, we know these are all literal things. It's literally Adam and That's Eve true. In the garden and the serpent. None of this is metaphorical.
I guess, I don't know, to be honest with you, I guess, like, it's just kind of been
no worries. No worries. I only asked the question. I don't need the answer from you. Right. I asked the question to highlight that we sometimes can engage in certain biases without realizing. That's it.
Right.
So I'm highlighting. That's why I said I asked you that question in the beginning for that reason, to highlight for you that there are things way worse. There's no problem in Islam. I can answer anything you'll bring. But with Christianity, I can show you how there are things way more terrible and horrible that nobody will talk about. Like, the Old Testament talks about selling your own daughter as a slave.
No, yeah, I've seen them. Yeah, I've seen this.
Okay. All right. So what else do you other hadith? But you see, this is the thing with hadith. I'll tell you something else. Before
Sure.
we present, the thing with hadith is this. It's not like
Yeah.
the Quran, from what sense? It requires a lot of contextualization.
Mhm.
Because hadith can be what? An incident can happen. A narrator can only narrate part of this incident.
Right.
He can forget the context. He can forget the rest of the statement that was said. He can just report a part that he found relevant.
Right.
Now, when we combine narrations, we bring other narrators completing the context. And also narrators can narrate with meaning. So sometimes they can give a meaning that when you have another narration, you realize what the meaning actually intended is. The Prophet didn't exactly use that specific word. He used a similar word. But when you combine the narrations, you realize. And then you have other narrations mentioning context. Okay, so this is in that context. And this is referring to this specific thing. And that's why it takes scholar years. Like these things I'm telling you, like I don't just like open that book of hadith and I find all of these things. No, I have to open the books of explanations of hadith. And I have to study those. I have to go to Fath al-Bari by Ibn Hajar, for example, who explains the full of Bukhari. I have to go to the Nawawi Sharh of Muslim, where he explains all of these narrations that are in the book, all of them, and he will combine the different narrations. Each book of hadith have an explanation like this. And that's how we come to an understanding and conclusion based on years of study and dedication. So that's why approaching hadith with a lens of just reading it in isolation will always, of course, bring problems. Not to mention, of course, the weakening of the narration, all of that. But yeah, go ahead. What else have you come across that is like preventing you from taking that step of being a Muslim?
I guess another one I had. I mean, you probably heard this one a lot before. Is saying that like when the Prophet was talking about, like, he was asked, isn't the witness of a woman equal to half of a man? And then he said yes, because of the deficiency of a woman's mind. I read explanations of it, explaining like what the deficiency he was
but the
referring
hadith
to.
explains the deficiency.
Oh.
Maybe you haven't read it fully then. That's the point I was making about reading the full hadith in context.
I guess not, yeah.
So the Prophet says the deficiency, because he was asked, what is the deficiency? Okay. He said the deficiency is in testimony. Deficiency is not the right word, by the way, which I'm going to also talk about that. But he said the reduction, which is the right word I would use, because it says naqs, to reduce from something. Like Allah says in the Quran, nanqusuha, about the ard, al-ard nanqusuha min atrafiha. We reduce it from its parts. So reduction. Okay, so he says reduction in testimony. That is the reduction in the mind, the testimony. And the other reduction in the religion, which is that she basically, in menstruation or whatever, she doesn't have to pray and do religious obligations. So the hadith already responds to these things. So it doesn't mean that the hadith is not saying, the Prophet already explained. He's not like saying that they're less intelligent or that they're, for example, more sinners than men or less, righteous servants or whatever. No, he said this is what we mean. But the reduction, do you know what kind of reduction this is?
Was it in memory or no?
No. I mean, when the Prophet says a reduction in something, he's referring to a reduction in responsibility, actually. Do you know why it's a reduction in responsibility?
Well, yeah, because the women have less like responsibility because of like their during the holy month, because of their menstruation and whatnot. No, like they don't have to pray.
Not only that, but even in the testimony is a responsibility. Why? Because false testimony means you will be lashed. It's like if you require four people to testify and 3 say something and 1 doesn't,
right?
They'll all be lashed.
I see.
False testimony in Islam is not a joke. Like false testimony, you cannot just come and falsely testify to something.
Right.
So this is a reduction in responsibility.
I see.
It's not a reduction in a way which insults women in any way, for sure.
I see. Appreciate that. Yeah, I have like some other dumb ones, I think, but I think I need to like take some more time and apply the kind of understanding that you were talking about and put more effort into looking at their context and whatnot. Because yeah, if you just look at it out of context or don't understand like where it was said, then yeah, you can arrive to these outcomes that don't exist but exist in your head, and then you make your own conclusion from them. So yeah,
and many people, by the way, have this issue today. By the way, it's not just you. There's many people who say, "Oh, just follow the Quran alone today," and all of this stuff. Why? It's easier, and I don't see you doing that, by the way. But it's easier to be a lazy person.
Right.
Meaning, I have an issue with this, reject it. The hadith doesn't make sense to you. I'm gonna reject all of it wholesale.
Right.
Okay, but how are you gonna pray? No, I'm gonna take the part that I like, which is how to pray, how to fast. Like, okay, so is it authentic? Is it not authentic? Is it reliable or not? Is it historically accurate or not? So
Right.
it's easier, especially in this day and age. You know, people just go, and I made a video of this. You just go to AI. Oh, how can I do this? That's it. Like, nobody really wants to read a book anymore. Nobody
Right.
wants to ask the person of knowledge anymore. So
Yeah.
a lot of people can take that route. Also, there's another route. Maybe there's a narration is very popular that people misuse against Islam.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to like be defensive with that. Oh, I reject this. This is not authentic. No, like the religion is not a game. It's not our game. It's not like my backyard where I take what I want and I put what I want. This is God's revelation. And since it's God's revelation, there's no doubt that every single thing he taught is wise and has an answer.
Right.
There's no doubt to that. And I always challenge, look, I've been doing live streams for years. And people come. Look, I cannot possibly know what you're gonna break.
Right.
I can't. Like, it's impossible.
Yeah.
But in the end, I know whatever it is, because Islam is the perfect religion, it will have a response. I know that. And we've been demonstrating that, not just me, but other brothers for years. So now I'm going to ask you this, right? Since whatever left is dumb ones and whatever, why not take that step then? If the Quran makes sense to you, you read it, the majority of the hadith that you read, you know, like I can tell you tons of hadith that I'm sure that you will say this is the most wise thing you can hear.
Yeah.
The Prophet's teachings of and narrations. Like one of you does not become a believer until you love for your brother what you love for yourself. Prophet said you're not a believer if your neighbor sleeps hungry and you are full. Prophet mentions that from the perfection of your faith that you leave that which is not of your business. Prophet talks about richness, and he says the true richness is the richness of the heart, not money. Prophet makes these examples and parables to his companions where he says, do you know who's the bankrupt person? And they say the bankrupt person is the one who doesn't have money. He says to them, no, the bankrupt person is the one who prays, gives charity. How is he bankrupt? He gives charity, prays, he does all of that. But he goes, curses this person, insults that person, which is we have so many people like this. They pray and do the rights of God and they leave the rights of human beings. So if you look at the narrations, you can see the wisdom. I don't obviously need to explain that. The wisdom of the Prophet, which is a revelation from God in the end. As Allah says, he doesn't speak of his own. It's only revelation being given to him. وَمَا يَنْطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ. This is the truth. So what's then? I would encourage you to take the step. Of course, you can take your time if you want. This is not like, this is just a suggestion, an invitation. Like you said, a friendly invitation. Like imagine me inviting you to my wedding or something. It's a friendly invitation. And it's up to you to act upon it or not. But if these are really the issues, then I don't see them as big issues. And I wish guidance for you. Since you see that the Quran makes sense to you. So if you want, you can, or if you want more research, you're welcome, and you're welcome to come back anytime, of course.
Yeah, no, I probably, to be honest, I even spoke about it with my family, because, my family, I guess you could say they're quote unquote Christians, but they don't, it was probably just because, in Romania, you grow up and then it's kind of instilled in you, right? 99% of the country is Orthodox. So it's kind of just instilled in them, and you ask them what they believe. Well, they believe it because they were told it. And I spoke to them about the potential of converting and whatnot, but they're they're obviously
I can imagine
and whatever. I honestly I would assume deep in their hearts they would be fine with it, but obviously they'd be initially disappointed and whatever. But I've been trying my best, honestly. I was talking with my mom a couple of days ago. I was genuinely trying to we were in a car ride and I was explaining Islam and whatnot, because she had she was never exposed to it and whatnot. So I was just trying to expose in that thing to kind of get her to understand it more and whatnot. So I'm gonna finish reading the Quran again. I'm mid reading it right now, and honestly, I think I don't know. I hope Allah will guide me, and inshallah, I'll convert.
Inshallah, I wish that Allah guides you to the truth, inshallah. And just know that everyone struggles with this. Everyone who accepts Islam struggles with this, and especially, obviously, Christian, Eastern Orthodox, or just Eastern Christians. They're a lot more, holding on to the religion. I wouldn't say necessarily for rational or research reasons, but they're a lot more practicing.
It's more in their identity and all that. Yeah,
exactly. You go to church, you would celebrate, but in reality, they don't really believe and read, and it's not that. So I completely understand. But just know that in the end, look, Allah is on your side in the end, and He can see you. and that everyone else struggle with this. Like I said, you probably, if you've seen the biography of the Prophet, you know the Prophet's uncle dying as a disbeliever while he protecting him all his life, and he loved him, etc. These examples for us are for that reason, because we know that like this, we can be fought by our own family members. You know, Muslim or not, your family can stop you from praying. Even they call themselves Muslims, that they forbid girls from wearing a hijab and praying and all of that. So anyone can, shaitan can use anyone basically for his goal. So it was really a pleasure talking to you. Appreciate it.
You as well. Thank you for everything.
Very nice discussion. Thank you very much. All right, Justin. Bye bye. I'll see you perhaps another time. Ameen, ameen. May Allah guide you to the truth.
See you later.
See you. Bye bye.
So I just wanted to say that I think like 2.5 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I took my shahada, so I'm a Muslim now.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah. So
that's great news.
Yeah. I just saw you live, and I said, I might as well. I'm not going to take up too much of your time. I just wanted to say that I just saw you were live, and you played a big part in it as well. صنعتم في الأرض نورا يا قلوبا فيها الوفاء بشركم اليوم السرور